when I've been campaigning here in Longlevens with you, what's come to me is the concerns people have got about the grammar schools in Longlevens in particular, Sir Thomas Rich's, the fact that children here locally are being displaced from grammar schools for kids coming from, say, the Forest of Dean, because there are no grammar schools there, or from Tewkesbury or wherever else. So, do you believe in the grammar school system? Do you think that grammar schools should be built in the Forest of Dean, in Tewkesbury, so that Gloucester kids, Longlevens kids are not being displaced in that fashion?
Now, not everyone knows this, but I've worked at Sir Thomas Rich's for 7 years, having been there as a student for 7 years, and then decided I elected to then go to Gloucester Academy, which at the time was probably what most people would consider the opposite, complete end of the spectrum in terms of standards and what was going on with the school. And the reason to do that was quite personal. It was because, well, hold on, these guys over here, they have the benefit and privilege of really, highly competent teachers that have been, really drilled through the process and so on. I think, it's not to discredit anything that was going on at Gloucester Academy, but I was actively recruited by John Riley, the then headmaster, to come there as a high caliber teacher to try and help drive standards up, and I wanted to do that so that the disadvantaged people in Gloucester from a socio-economic background that wasn't favourable necessarily for grammar school would still get good quality teaching. That's still my stance. I think you need to have grammar schools, but alongside that you need to have probably an even more selective system. And what I mean by that is that everyone in this room is different, right? No two human brains are the same. So how can you expect to get the maximum result if you shoehorn kids through exactly the same educational experience? It's not going to work. If you had a doctor that prescribed the same medicine and the same dosage to every one of its patients, irrespective of what the illness was, there'd be a lot of dead people. It's not a good way of doing things. So education needs to become more bespoke. What I mean by that is, if you're smart, you end up going to grammar schools. Yeah? If you're very creative, then you end up going to your creative schools and the arts and so on. If you're very good with your hands, for example, you start getting exposed to some of those industries, techniques, skills, trades, professions, whatever you want to call them, which you have got a natural ability in, therefore probably likely to be more successful at doing, and therefore you're more likely to apply yourself. I see education, the actual word education comes from the Latin educate, which means to lead out from. So the job of an educator is to get the most out of people. Yeah? So if people can find out what they're good at, be trained in how to make a living from doing something they enjoy, they're much more likely to apply themselves, see it through, and end up having really good life chances, good life goals, and a good life, which is what we all want. How they get there is different. But the job of education is to provide the routes to enable people to take that journey should they want to. They might not want to, that's fine, that's their choice. But just to say, right, grammar schools, comprehensive, that's it, one system, one curriculum, bang, it's foolish. It's foolish. What it doesn't do is say, actually, if you look at a successful company or a successful ecosystem or anything really where you've got a big organisation with different components in it, it works best when you specialise. Someone has a particular job to do, they get very good at it, it's the job they like doing. They have a natural innate ability at that job, they do it. Someone else has a different job to do and does that and so on. Now if you can link those all together and you can have equal respect for the jobs that everybody does, then you're going to have a very prosperous system, prosperous society, prosperous organisation, whatever it is. So you need to get people that are different to then be able to work together. And you need to celebrate people's differences in education rather than trying to force everyone through this one-size-fits-all, let's get 50% of people off to university because that's a good idea. Doesn't work. That issue's felt both ways around, so you can have kids coming in, being bussed in. If they are coming in from elsewhere, then it's unfair on them because they're coming into school, they're unproductive, they have no real enjoyment of all the extracurricular activities because they can't access them, so it's not fair on them. Or their parents to have the cost and do so. So I'd love to see the proposal of Richard Leppington to actually debate this and really ultimately say, look, we want more grammar schools, we want more schools full stop, but think about the mix, think about what they teach, and think about how you're going to go forward and make sure that you meet the demand in the locality where it's based rather than putting it all on one place because it happens to be a nexus. We did see it with Tommy Rich's when we had the crash, we had the financial crash. What happened was a lot of people couldn't then afford the fees at the private schools, so tried to push everyone through into Tommy's and places like that, and we've got, Tommy's is about 60 to 65% Cheltenham kids. So CRIP, the other school which I've taught at, is it's the true boys' grammar school for Gloucester, because it does, take in a much a catchment area, a higher proportion of its pupils from its own city. So it is a big problem. How do we counter it? I think we do need more schools, absolutely. Can you solve the problem of education just by building new shiny buildings? No, you can't. I worked in one of those. It cost them 30 million in the first year, 16 million for the building, 14 million for the staff budget, and it wasn't thought out correctly. It wasn't planned out correctly. The one person they had to do the job, they didn't give them enough chance to do the job, and it didn't work out so well. I hear things are different now, but that is 7 years worth of kids now from moving from Bishop's College to then merging up there and forming the new building. That's 7 years worth of kids. That's a whole educational experience basically from year 7 all the way to sixth form. Ruined. Can't get it back. And unfortunately these kids now, with the way the job market is, the fact that they've been underskilled by the educational system, what else are they going to do? They've got to live, so unless they're going to go on the dole, which some of them will do, or unless they're going to try and take a little job here, there and everywhere, the alternative looks like crime, unfortunately, and that's where the problem comes. A lot of the problems that we see in Gloucester, that we're beginning to see in Longlevens even, some of the problems that you get in the city centre are born of the fact that people need to be socially mobile. How do you make people socially mobile? Education. Is grammar school the way forward? No, it isn't. It's part of the mix, and you need to get that mix right, and that mix will be different for each different city in the country. The good thing about UKIP is, as a party, is it looks at that. It doesn't have a whipping system at local level, which means that as a candidate, or as a prospective councillor, if a view to do something for Gloucester would work for Gloucester but wouldn't necessarily work anywhere else, you can still hold that view and put that view forward without anyone else in the party saying, oh, no, that's not how we do it over here, you've got to toe the line. Actually, you do what's right for the people that you represent.